Why is it that the Jews should be living in Israel? And if that thought process is rooted in biblical stuff, and that's my first question. Is it rooted in the fact that the Bible, that God came to give the Jews the land of Israel? Is that where your position is coming from?
No.
So can you please explain to me where your position is coming from that the Jews need the land of Israel?
They've always lived there.
And that's it?
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of a weak argument, Mr. Tal. The
Why?
only reason that we...
I believe Palestinians should live there too. They've always lived there. Why is it a weak argument?
Well, first of all, the Palestinians didn't always live there,
Yes, they
right?
did.
I mean, they were Arabs that were
No, no, no.
conquered the land
No.
after the fact.
Nope.
The only people that are
Genetically, a
these
lot of
Palestinians,
genetically a
the
lot of
only
these
Palestinians who
gene,
lived here were what were called the Plishtim, and they were effectively wiped out. We don't even know who they are.
no, genetically a lot of these Palestinians, especially the ones in the West Bank, have a lot of ancient Judean/Samaritan DNA. For example, the whole city of Nablus is a majority Samaritan originally who were mass converted under the conquest of the Muslims. These are people who should remain in the land and have every right to live in the land the same way that I do. And I truly believe that. I want to find a way to live with them in peace. If it means by force, then it means by force. But I believe in Jewish sovereignty over the land. One, we conquered the land. Okay, we fought off the occupiers, which were the British, and we used our smarts and our wits to fight multiple wars. My grandparents and my family laid down their lives in some elements and laid down everything to protect their fellow Jewish people who had every single right to live and establish a state in their land. We accomplished it. That's it. We have a right to live in the land,
So
unapologetically
ultimately,
too.
your position is coming from we conquered the land, and therefore it's our land.
No, we lived in the land forever, and then we wanted to create a state. There was always a Jewish presence in the land. We had the smarts, the wits. We used the, I don't even know if there's a term for it, the modern nation building strategy that
Let me
nations.
ask my question in a different direction. Let me
Okay,
ask why it is not rooted in a biblical sense.
why is it not rooted in a biblical sense?
Yeah, why is it? Why is your position not? Hey, everybody, listen to my thought. My thought is God gave the Jews this piece of land, and that's why it's the Jews' land. Because
You're trying
ultimately,
to
even
force
you will
me
agree.
you're trying to force me into a corner that I genuinely don't believe in. I'm not the most
Well, I'm
religious
trying to
person in the world.
understand your
I
position. I'm
don't
not trying to
care.
force you into any position. I'm trying to
I,
understand where your position is coming from so that I can
Jews
understand your position much better.
Jews have always lived in the land. At a certain point, they had three different independent kingdoms in this land. Historically, not biblically, we have proof of that. Okay, they wanted to establish a state in the land. They accomplished that. That's their land. That's it. There's no ifs, ands,
This
or
is as we
buts.
can go as far back. We can go as far back only as basically Joshua entering the land of Israel, correct? And prior to that stage,
You
your
can go that
your
far, but I'm talking about the three independent kingdoms that were created in Judea, in Samaria, and the province
you're
of
saying
Israel.
post Joshua coming into the
Yeah,
land with all the tribes. You're
yeah,
talking post that stage.
yeah.
And so then at that point, your position is we came here, we weren't always here, but we
Correct,
came here, and then we were, since then, there was always a presence of Jews on the land,
correct,
and we conquered the land,
correct.
and therefore it's our land. And
Absolutely,
therefore we've always been here since then. Okay, so now my question is
and
secondary, like this.
unapologetically too. It's our
Yeah,
land,
I'm with you. Don't worry.
unapologetically.
I believe it's our land, bro. That's why I'm here. I'm just trying to flesh out your thinking. But now, what this also means, according to your logic, what this would mean is that if someone else comes and conquers the land, then conquering is a valid position to have land ownership. Just like now, Turkey's running around, or the new terrorists that took over Syria there. Okay, boom, it's their land. Done. They conquered it. This is according to your logic. And this would mean as well that anyone who will, in the future, it will never happen, but imagine someone does come and conquer this land, it'll be their land because
It
according
can
to your
happen.
logic, conquering it causes you to own the land.
It can happen, 100%. It can happen. I think it depends on your
And
history and your relationship with the land too.
at that point, when people do come and conquer the land, then you, Tal, would have to have your position as, yes, they came and they conquered the land. We did want to have a state. We were always here, but they subsequently did conquer the land, and therefore it's no longer our land. That would be your position, correct?
No,
Why?
Because even, for example, even when other foreign entities occupied the land and conquered it, we resisted against them.
Now, this is what's happening right now, Mr. Tull.
It's not.
Prior to the Jews, just wait, let me just stay my position here. Prior to the British mandate, when the Jews were now taken from the European world and stuck back into Israel, who owned that land?
Nope.
Via conquest?
Wrong.
Who did?
I've heard this argument before. There was a population of between 10 to 30,000 Jews who existed in this land always, and they were oppressed.
I'm not worried about who existed.
They were oppressed. They were oppressed by the Arab Muslim colonizers who moved in.
Exactly. So you've answered the question. The Arabs came and conquered the land, and they kicked us out. That's how we landed up in Europe. Correct?
They didn't kick us out.
They kicked the majority of the humans.
The Arabs didn't kick us out.
The Ottoman Empire did.
Also no. I mean, maybe a little bit, but
how did we get out of the land?
Not fundamentally. It started with Babylonians, wave 1, Greeks, wave 2, Persians, wave 3, and Persians kind of brought us back and then took us out again. Romans, wave 3, but exactly. I don't think there's a lot of information basing that the Ottomans or the Arabs kicked us out. They abused us.
Exactly.
They treated us like shit. They treated us like shit and they abused us, but they didn't kick us out of the land.
According to your position, we should be saying, according to your position, we should be saying, look, the Ottomans came and kicked us out prior to us coming back with the British mandate. Prior to us coming back, they kicked us out and they conquered the land. Fine, there were some of us left. Of course, there's always some people left when the land is conquered. But they came and they took ownership of the land according to your position. It should now be their piece of land. I mean, you can hear how I'm just building up a case where the logic that you're using to our land ownership is very malleable.
It was in vitro.
That's an incorrect position to have.
So what are you saying? Are you saying because of the Bible?
100%.
Okay, I mean you can use the Bible as an argument. I don't use the argument. I don't use the argument with the Bible.
I know, and that's why I want to have this conversation with you. Because I can see all you want. I can see into the logic that you've built out. If anyone comes and conquers this land, it will be their land. Finished.
It was.
Because that's how you say we got this land.
It was. It was, and they took the inhabitants of the land and they abused. But I mean, are you going to argue that during the Ottoman Empire it wasn't their land? It was the Ottomans' land. They had taken control over the land of Israel. But even when they took control, that's not what I'll say. Even when they took control of the land of Israel, while they called it Palestine, they acknowledged land of Israel on all the land documents in the tablets. They acknowledged that it wasn't their land. Go find me a scenario anywhere else on planet Earth where that's happened in history. Go find me a scenario where a colonizing force comes and takes the land and acknowledges that there was a presence there before. Hold on. Pause everything you're saying. Where's my wallet?
America.
Hold on.
America.
Pause real quick. No, America. That's not true. Absolutely not. Especially not. Hold on. Give me 1 second. I'm getting my wallet. Give me one moment. 1 second.
I'm with you. No problem. Let me, whilst we're waiting for you, just state my position. Okay. My position is not that we have the land of Israel because we conquered it at the time of Joshua. And since then, there's always been Jews. And since then, people always said, yes, the Israelis were always here in the land of Israel. The Hebrews always in the land of Israel. That's not my position.
Is my mic still working? Is my microphone still working? Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's still working.
Okay. Show you guys something.
So I don't know how far you thought.
Using something in my.
I don't do a video in this Discord. It's the first time I've ever came into Discord in my life.
Okay, I'll even just for you, I'll turn on my camera on Discord too, so you can see this.
How do I make you big?
When the Muslims, I got two immense proofs here, okay, of both of these things. I recently made a video about this for anybody who hasn't seen this video, okay? One, you have a coin here from 1,500 years ago during the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem, okay? After the death of Muhammad, the Umayyad dynasty, the Umayyad Khalifa, who rose up and conquered Jerusalem, took the Hebrew name Beit HaMikdash and turned it into Beit al-Maqdis, and who renamed it, by the way, and took the city. They took ownership over the city from the Byzantines, not the Jews. The Jews didn't exist there for three different kingdoms of colonizers. It was the Romans, then the Byzantines, then the Arabs who colonized it. They have every single reason in the world to not put a menorah on their coin. But they minted a coin that said on the back, Muhammad Rasul Allah. On the front it says, La ilaha illallah, which means God is the only prophet. On the other side it says, Muhammad is God's only prophet. On the other side it says, Allah is, there is no God but Allah himself. And they minted a coin with a fucking menorah on it.
What is the purpose of this proof?
This is irrational. This doesn't make any sense. There's no real example of this anywhere else where a colonizing force comes in, takes over and claims let's say a religious site as their own, claims that this religious site is theirs, destined by Allah, but in the same moment acknowledges that this is somebody else's home with this menorah. That's one. And two, the other coin that I have here that I seem to have dropped, you have a coin from the Roman revolt around 2,000 years ago, okay, when the Romans conquered Jerusalem. And this is why I don't need the Bible to make my points. I have tangible proof showing indigeneity and ownership over the land. You have proof
Your
here.
indigeneity is not going to help you create a claim if, according to you, the only reason we got our indigeneity was by conquering the land.
Dov, this is a very subjective argument. This is a very subjective argument. Very subjective argument. It depends on who you're speaking to. In a Muslim circle, you can speak about God.
Doesn't matter who you speak
for
to.
people who don't speak in the language of God, who don't understand the language of God. You can't. Hold on, Dov. Wait a moment. Don't talk over me. Dov. 1 second. Calm down. You're using an argument that works for one side of the equation. I'll admit, I'll be the first one to say, when I'm speaking to a religious Muslim, I'll use God in the argument more. I still might not quote the Bible because I personally don't feel comfortable quoting the Bible when I'm talking about this stuff. But when you're talking to somebody who doesn't understand the concept of God, who doesn't understand the nativity under God, or the covenant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, who doesn't understand that language, you need somebody like me with tangible archaeological proof to be able to say, hey, this coin's 2,000 years ago, okay, what I'm holding in my hand, and it says freedom to Zion in Hebrew. That doesn't make any sense, okay? This is literally Palestinian resistance. This is Jewish resistance, Zionist resistance that you can hold in your hand from 2,000 years ago. The argument of the Torah and the covenant of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob, which we both believe in, by the way, I'm not saying that I don't believe in it. I do believe in it. It's not always an argument that you can use. So if you're trying to grill me about using the Torah more often in my conversation, I reject what you say. It's not how I argue. It's not how I'm going to do my thing.
Remember, I started this questioning by just trying to understand what your ultimate position is.
My ultimate position is that we've existed in this land for as long as we've existed in this land. If you want to do a genetic test and go back 1,000,000 years, and you want to say that we're the original Canaanites and that the Neolithic people that lived here also stemmed into Judaism, which you can make those claims. I don't even try to go that far back. We had independent kingdoms here. The people who colonized this land never set up an independent kingdom here. They never tried to claim any sort of indigeneity or nativity over the land until 1967. And we left proof in the ground, and our occupiers and colonizers left proof in the ground, showing indigeneity of Jewish people, showing the truth that Jewish people are the inheritance of this land. And I don't need anything else. I mean, God can help me make the argument, but I'd rather use tangible proof that people can touch and feel. You know, I'll use God with the people who speak in the language of God, but not everybody does.
Just in closing, I just want to close with this.
Sure.
Is that the reason that we will continue to have these debates with all the people of the world like we are doing right now? Just by the way, you know I'm on your side, that this is our land.
I know. I like the conversation, by the way. You fired me up. I love it.
I'm just coming from a different direction.
Totally.
But now I
appreciate you, bro. Don't worry about it.
And this is, unless we get to this point, we will continue to have these fights until Mashiach comes. And this is the point, is that we are not owners of this land because we colonized it first and we have coins in the ground. That's not why we're the owners of the land. Because according to that logic, anybody who comes after us, destroys us, and sticks their stuff in the ground and holds it for longer than us will be the owners of the land. And you don't want to say that. And the only way that we're ever going to close this topic is by saying, yes, we have the proof. Look, it's there in the ground. And it goes all the way back until exactly where the Bible says. And the reason that we're here is because God gave us this tiny little piece of land. And until we can speak that language,
you go argue the God perspective.
Languages,
you go
and we have to.
Dov, you go argue the God perspective with Columbia University students who believe in 16 genders. You go do that for me and see how far that takes you. I reject your premise. I mean, I appreciate that we're on the same side. I love that you're on the same side, and I love you, bro. I've got no problem with you. I see where you're coming from, and I actually have many friends who would agree with the exact perspective you're saying. I reject the way that you do things. I don't think it's the right way to go about it. I don't think it's the wrong way to go about it, because I think there's a place where you could do it, but you need to have duality. You can't live in a fucking binary of just, it's my way or the highway. You know, you got to be a little flexible with how you talk to people. If you're going to try to preach to people about God and the covenant of God with people who don't believe in God, who don't understand God, who don't understand the deep immense spiritual complexity of what Judaism is, you're never going to get anywhere with those people. And that's why people like you are not able to hold themselves up in these conversations. If you're just going to go
Of course we
God,
are.
if you're just going to
But
go
look,
God,
what-
God, God,
I
here's
think-
what
I
it says
think-
in the Torah. It doesn't go very far with people who don't speak in that language, which, excuse me, a vast majority of planet Earth doesn't speak in that language. Don't understand that
It
perspective.
doesn't matter what they speak in. For 400 years, from Newton until 65, everybody spoke in the language of a universe that existed infinitely. That matter was popping in and out of existence every few years. And what, you just couldn't speak to them about the fact that there was actually a beginning? What type of logic is that?
It's a logic.
Ultimately,
It's a logic.
what the
It's a
proofs-
logic of the way the
proofs that
world
you're
works.
bringing-
We live in a
the proofs
different
that you're
world.
bringing are additions to the ultimate truth. The ultimate truth, we can't open a box and say, look, yeah, God said it, because this is not the way God reveals himself in the world. But we can bring the coin out the ground like you just did and show it to another human and say, look, this goes all the way back to exactly when we spoke about it. And when we go dig in the ground,
make the
we find
reverse
these-
argument. I can make the reverse argument that
Show
the
me.
coins
Show me.
coins are the main argument in the Torah as supplementary. I'm
Show
not
me
saying
how.
I'm not saying that I don't agree with what you're saying. I'm just saying there's certain people.
Show me how. Show me how the
Because there's
reverse
certain
argument
people
would
who
work.
don't understand that concept. What if somebody tells you your Torah is invalid and I don't believe what you're saying? I don't believe in God and I don't believe in your book. What's your response? Believe in my book?
Well, I'm going to ask them, no, I'm going to ask them, what are the reasons that lead you to
I don't
not believe in
it.
the God?
It doesn't
to believe
connect.
in the
It
book?
doesn't connect to me. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in it.
You don't get to make, that's not a logical argument.
But you
That's
see,
just a
you see the
statement.
fallacy in
That's
your
not how we
argument.
argue.
But do you understand the fallacy in your argument?
No.
There are millions
I
of
don't.
people who would respond to you just in that way. They won't even rationalize what they're saying. It doesn't matter whether they believe in God or not. But they don't care about your perspective. They don't care about the Torah. They don't care about God. They don't believe in that. They don't have any connection to it.
This is the same argument that we Jews would have had with the Newtonian thought process in the world when they were saying that the universe was infinitely old. They would just say, "Oh, we just don't agree with you." Ultimately,
I didn't understand.
once we go through all the
I didn't understand
investigations
I
and we
didn't-
find all the proof,
I didn't understand that
you're
last
saying-
point you meant. You said.
your statement was, look, the people who are going to be arguing with you are just going to say, well, I just don't hold you by your position.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore you're wrong. That's not a logical or a coherent argument. I don't
Habibi, are we
believe in
fighting?
it,
Are we
so
fighting
you're
with
wrong.
logical people here, Habibi? Listen to what you're saying. What do you mean logic?
Remember,
Are you fucking listening? Have you listened to any of my live streams in the last year? You think we're arguing with logical people? I'm arguing with people. I'm arguing with a group of people who their descendants put a menorah on a coin in Arabic 1,500 years ago, and will still claim to me that it's their land eternally. Are you fucking with me?
Rebtel, I'm not arguing with them actually. Again, my original position was just trying to understand where your position is coming from, and again, I don't want to take all your time of your stream. I'm so happy to be engaging with you. It's so nice, and like
It's
I said,
really
it's
nice.
amazing. I love your content. You're amazing.
I love you as well, man. I appreciate you.
Ultimately, I think that if every discussion, even with those stupid Colombians that think that there's 16 genders, if that person we would start the conversation with these people by saying you're wrong, and I can logic it out with you, instead of saying, look, here's a coin, but they can say, yeah, but we conquered you afterwards and we have other coins. That's a much better position to do the argument from.
But they don't. You can't just say, hey, we have other coins. They don't. There isn't any. You know what I'm saying? The archaeological proof leads in one direction. It doesn't lead in any other direction.
My statement is
there's
that
an argument that
how
you could go.
to
You could go from
his
point
position.
A to point B to point C without needing to use the Torah. Without needing to use the Torah. And I appreciate your perspective of wanting to use the Torah.
If you do that,
yeah.
If you do that, if you do go from A to B to C without using the Torah, then you land up with the problem that I've just been describing to you.
You don't.
That being, I'm showing you how. That being that, according to your position currently, Tal, is that the reason that this is our land is because when Yeshua came in, we conquered the land. And our conquering of the land and never having left the land, there was always our people on the land, and we have coins, and we have archaeology, and we have. And because we conquered it prior, that's why it's our land. But if conquering is what makes it,
the refutation to the point that you're bringing up is that somebody from the Canaanite period or from the Philistine period, maybe the Phoenician period, would say, I have a genuine claim to this land. And they would have to defend that point. It doesn't exist. Nobody's making that claim.
But according to this line of reasoning, anybody who goes and conquers the land now owns the land.
That's how history
And
works,
that-
yes.
But it's not so. It's true for every piece of land in the world.
It's precisely how history works, brother.
It's true for every piece of the land except for Eretz Yisrael.
That's where you're wrong. And that's where you're using God for the argument. It's not going to work for you. And that's why I do what I do. And that's why I'm successful at doing what I do. It's because I don't use your argument. Listen to what I'm saying. You need to listen. I'm going to be uploading some of my lectures soon, and you'll hear how I engage with people. You'll see. You can learn. I think you can learn a lot from me. I don't think we really see that far away from each other. I think we disagree on this one thing. But I appreciate your perspective. And obviously, again, I believe in the Torah and I believe in the promise of the covenant. I probably have a little more of a reformed look at the thing that maybe not all Jews will appreciate, but we'll save that for a different point in my career when I'm ready to burn all my ties with everybody and to get everybody to hate me. But Dov, I appreciate you very much, bro.
Ultimately, you're saying, look, you do hold by the Abrahamic faith, and that's the reason why we have it. But you're using arguments for the Colombian students on their level. That's what you're telling me.
One more time? I didn't totally understand what you said.
Ultimately, deep down inside your goof, inside your body, inside your mind, you do hold by the fact that Eretz Yisrael is the Jews because it was given to us. But you're using the arguments that you're presenting to me right now so that you can communicate with the stupid lefty liberals.
I'm taking you off the stage. I'm going to take you off the stage because I don't want to continue the conversation, but I'm going to answer those 2 points. To say that I believe that the Jews' land is from the covenant of God, I don't think would be a representation of what I feel in my heart or with my connection with Hashem. That's not where my doctrine comes from. And it's too deep, personal, and spiritual for me to be able to convey properly over this call and with the limited time we have left. Again, it's truly something that I want to talk about more in the future. It's not something I feel comfortable talking about yet because I still feel I'm on my own journey. Okay? It's 1, 2. I don't think those students in Colombia are as stupid as we make them out to be. I know I make fun of them all the time, but something that we tend to forget is that a lot of these college students in the West and these idiots who wear the kafia and all the whatever, the rainbow hair and the whole lot, they are well-intentioned people with really the best of intentions who are lost. They're very, 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 very lost. And I think that I'm not dumbing down my argument to the coins because that's the only language they understand. It is because I have done my own research to get to the point of how can I defend this in a way that I'm comfortable. You may be comfortable arguing this point with the Torah. You know, there's rabbis who are comfortable arguing that point with the Torah. More power to them. I did my own research. I spoke to my own sources. I try to understand my own reasoning for this argument. And I found a chronological set of answers that are archaeological in the land, some that are tangible that you can touch, feel, and hold, that I believe to be true, okay, that have archaeological, scientific, and historical backing to them. And I don't need anything else than what I can hold in the timeline that I build out for myself with my family history and with these coins and with everything else to prove rational existence of Israel, the state of Israel, and Jewish people in the land all the way from history to now. I don't need anything else. And that's kind of where I rest my case.